The plane landed in Toronto. June 1989. Elon had $2,000 in his pocket, one suitcase, phone numbers for his mother's relatives he'd never met, and hoped they would help. When he called, no one answered. He called again, no answer. Again, again, again. Not one person answered. He stood in the Toronto airport, looked around. People walking past, everyone knew where they were going, had places waiting for them, had people waiting for them. He had nothing. First night in Canada, he slept in a train station. Barely slept. The sound of footsteps, announcements, cold. Next morning, he started calling other relatives. Any names his mother had mentioned, anyone who might help. Day 2, he found a distant relative in Saskatchewan. She said he could stay, but he had to get there himself. Saskatchewan was 3,000 kilometers from Toronto. He bought the cheapest bus ticket, rode for 3 days, watched Canada pass by the window. Forests, prairies, small towns, wide sky. Different from South Africa in every way. His relative lived in a small town called Swift Current. Small house, warm, she was kind, but direct. You can stay, but you need to work, you need to earn your own money. Elon nodded. I understand. There's work here. Farm work. Factory work. It's not easy. That's okay, I can do it. He didn't know how hard farm work was. First day, he worked at a vegetable farm, woke at 4 in the morning, worked until 6 in the evening, bent over picking vegetables, carrying loads, under the sun, hands blistered, back aching, feet swollen. He'd never done physical labour like this, never used his body like this. Every part hurt. But he didn't stop, didn't complain. $10 an hour, he needed it. 3 months, he worked the farm. Skin darkened, muscles hardened, hands scarred. Different from the thin boy who used to read all day. But he still read. Every night after work, exhausted, sore, but he read. Because he knew farm work wasn't the goal. It was the path. It was what he had to do to move forward. He saved money. Every dollar, every cent. He calculated 6 more months of work he'd have enough for university. But farm work ended when harvest season ended. He needed a new job. He got work at a lumber mill, cutting wood, moving wood. Much harder than the farm, more dangerous. Saws spinning fast, noise deafening, dust filling his lungs. Elon lasted 2 weeks. His body couldn't take it. He quit. Next job, boiler factory. He had to go inside large boilers to clean them, had to wear protective gear, remove sediment from inside. Hot, dark, cramped, chemical smell. Hard to breathe, like being buried alive. Many people couldn't do it. Many came out and quit immediately. Elon did it. Not because he liked it, not because he was strong, but because he had no choice. He needed money, he needed to get to university, 3 more months of wages, he'd have enough. Then he saw a notice. Queen's University in Ontario, accepting new students. Scholarships available, he applied, wrote an essay about why he wanted to study, why he came to Canada, why he deserved a chance. 2 weeks later, he got in. September 1990. Elon entered Queen's University, age 19. For the first time in his life, he felt he was in the right place. A large library, full of books, classrooms discussing physics, economics, engineering. People interested in the same things he was. He studied hard, gave everything, every subject, had a clear goal. He would study business and physics. He needed to understand both. Needed to know how business works and how technology works. But he didn't just study. He socialized, made friends, talked, debated, sometimes until late, sometimes until morning, talked about the future, about technology, about where humanity was going. He wasn't quiet anymore, wasn't afraid anymore. He discovered, if you have interesting ideas, people will listen. Second year, he started seeing patterns, seeing opportunities. Many students needed computers, but computers were expensive. Elon knew how to repair them, knew how to build them, knew how to find cheap parts. He started building computers to sell to friends. Cheaper than stores, small profit, not much. But it was a lesson that if you solve problems for people, people will pay. On weekends, he and 3 friends rented a large house, threw parties, sold tickets, collected money for drinks, not for fun, but to make money. He wasn't a kid doing business because he wanted to be rich. He did it because he had to survive, because his scholarship wasn't enough, because he didn't have parents sending money. He learned money is freedom, is choice, is the opportunity to do what you want. Second year, he decided. Queen's University was good, but not the best. If he wanted to go to America, if he wanted to go to Silicon Valley, he needed a better university. He applied to transfer to several places. One accepted. University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, a top-tier American university, 1992. Elon moved to Pennsylvania, age 21. America was different from Canada. Bigger cities, faster, more competitive. Everyone had big dreams. Everyone wanted success. Elon studied 2 degrees simultaneously, physics and economics. Very hard, but he did it. Because he learned how to manage time, how to read fast, how to remember a lot. He read nearly everything in the library. Read about energy, read about rockets, read about the internet, read about businesses that changed the world. At Pennsylvania, he started seeing the big picture. The world was changing, the internet was coming. It would change everything, how people buy things, how people communicate, how businesses work. And there were 3 things he thought were most important for humanity's future. 1. The internet. 2. Sustainable energy. 3. Space travel. These 3 things would define the future, and he wanted to be part of it. Many of his friends said he thought too much, thought too big. You just graduated, how can you change the world? But Elon didn't care. He didn't come to Canada, didn't work on farms, didn't sleep in boilers. To do something small, he came to do something important. 1995. Elon graduated from University of Pennsylvania, aged 24. He had 2 degrees, a lot of student debt, and a massive dream. He was accepted to Stanford University PhD program in energy physics, one of the world's top universities, an opportunity most people dream of, but he wasn't sure because the internet was exploding, new companies emerging every day. If he went to study, he'd lose 5 or 6 years and the opportunity might disappear. He had to choose. PhD or opportunity. He sat thinking for a long time, then he decided. He would go to California, but not to study. He would go to start a company. This was the next step. At Queen's, he'd met someone, a woman named Justine Wilson, English literature student, smart, beautiful, interesting. They started dating, long conversations about books, about ideas, about the future. She was the first person who understood him, who didn't think his Mars dreams were crazy, who actually believed he might do it. When he left for Pennsylvania, they tried long distance. It was hard, but they stayed connected. She saw something in him that others didn't. Not wealth, not success, but determination, obsession, the kind of focus that changes reality. She would follow him to California later. They would marry, have children. The relationship wouldn't last. Neither of his first 2 marriages would. But in these early years, She was his partner, his support. Before leaving for California, Elon sat in his apartment in Philadelphia. 24 years old, 2 degrees, no money, mountains of debt. But he had clarity. He'd identified the 3 most important areas: internet, sustainable energy, space travel. He couldn't do all 3 at once. Had to start somewhere. The internet was happening now, right now, this moment. If he didn't jump in, the wave would pass. Sustainable energy and space travel were long-term, decades. He'd get to them eventually. But first, the internet. He packed his belongings, 1 car full, drove west across America, Pennsylvania to California, 3,000 miles. Watched the landscape change. Cities to farmland, mountains to desert, desert to Pacific coast. He thought about his journey from Pretoria to Toronto, from Toronto to Saskatchewan, from farms to factories to universities, from survival to vision. He thought about that boy on the stairs, thrown down, bleeding, nearly blind, nearly dead. That boy dreamed of Mars. This man was going to make it happen, not tomorrow, not next year, but someday. First, prove yourself. Make money, build something, show the world you can execute. Then, the big mission. August 1995. Elon arrived in Palo Alto, California, heart of Silicon Valley. The internet gold rush was beginning, companies raising millions, fortunes being made overnight. He had almost nothing. But he had something others didn't. He'd survived. He'd worked harder than anyone. He'd learned both business and technology. He understood what was coming, and he was willing to bet everything on it. The boy from South Africa was gone. The man who would change the world had arrived. From student to entrepreneur, from ideas to action. The real work begins